Hi guys, and welcome to a new video on Sonal's life. And as you can tell, happy face, Los Ingobernables de Japón t-shirt. We are here for the Wrestle Kingdom 18 review. Now I'm going to get into it, no none of this intro stuff, because it was a very long and a very good show. So, as expected, we started at 6:30 in the morning UK time with the Rambo. So basically the four final participants would go forward to New Year's Dash tomorrow to have a chance at the King of Pro Wrestling title. Now it was chaotic as hell. We had everyone who wasn't on the main card. There were some surprises. So Iska came back. There was really nice interaction. Yo decided to come out in a blue tracksuit. Yano was being Yano. We had the Empire, TMDK, House of Torture. Everyone was represented, and yeah, most people probably fell asleep or didn't watch it. Go back and watch it, because for tomorrow we are going to see Toru Yano, Great-O Khan, Yo, and Taiji Ishimori facing off for the King of Pro Wrestling title. Now I'm gutted that Taichi did not manage to make the final four, because he was in a phenomenal 2023 King of Pro Wrestling champion. But sometimes you've got to sacrifice, and you know what? Here's Yo for King of Pro Wrestling 2024 Provisional Champion. We then had a bit of a break and we got started straight away with the title matches. So we started with the IWGP Junior Tag titles. So that was the champions, War Dogs, so Clark Connors and Dan Maloney, facing Catch 22. Obviously, since the coffin match, they've been teasing this new aura, this new persona of TJP. And he came out looking freaky as hell, but also really impactful. Combine that with Francesco Akira's green and black body paint, it was a really effective way to make an entrance to the Tokyo Dome, and a great way to start the show. Now obviously at first Clark Connors and Dan Maloney were quite taken back by this, because it was a very different thing. However, this match clearly proved how good the tag division is in the junior division, and also why they always put this match first, because they got the crowd excited. So the match only went for 9 minutes, but they threw everything into it. It was a mixture of amazing wrestling and storytelling, and showcasing the depth that the junior division had. Now in the end, Catch 22 got the win and they hit their 2-2. And again, it wasn't very long, but it was a very good match to start. And as you know what, I'm going to say props to War Dogs. They have held the titles and have really brought some prestige to it. But as you know, I am a big Catch 22 fan. And going forward, so at the end of the match, obviously with this new persona, Akira sort of gingerly put his hand out just to see if they were on the same page. And they still are. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. We then had the New Japan Television title. So we had the winner, the only ever champion of this belt, Zack Sabre Jr., facing the New Japan president, Tanahashi. Now, I know that there were a few grievances because the end of this match was slightly messy, because it was obviously with the King of Pro Wrestling, it was roll up. However, the match itself was very good. We have said it time after time that Tana is not in the best shape. But these 15-minute matches allows him to not have to put in as much effort and still have these amazing shots. Similarly, Zack Sabre Jr. works so well with Tanahashi. They were countering, flawlessly transitioning from power moves to submission moves. And Zack, once again, he cements this fact that he has this game plan that if a submission doesn't work in a certain amount of time, he will change it. And so Tana was trying to find ways to counter that. At the start, he was going very high risk, so he was doing the high fly flow, the twist and shout. But then he knew that the best way to beat Zack is to do it unexpectedly, which meant that after 8 minutes 53, Tanahashi rolled up Zack for the pin. Now, personally, I think the pinning ending was fine, in terms of the theory behind it. I just think because the last roll up was slightly messy, that maybe if they'd have done 2 more just to allow for a cleaner roll-up from Tanahashi, it would have been better. But still phenomenal. And I think this allows Zack now to go for the bigger titles and gives Tanahashi a big title singles reign, but in something that his body can take control of. I know y'all are saying, Tanahashi's president is giving himself the belt. The ace, put some respect on his name. We then sort of broke up the title matches with 2 special singles matches. One was very good. One was not great. So we started with the returning Young Lions making their Tokyo Dome debut. So Yota Tsuji of Los Ingobernables de Japón versus Yuya Uemura of Just Five Guys. This match was phenomenal. So what did it go? It went 10 minutes 57, but they threw everything into it. So coming into the match, you could see the difference. So Uemura seemed more tedious, more wary, whereas Tsuji came out all smiles. Obviously with that confidence that he has had title matches, he's much more experienced in single matches than Uemura. But while that seemed to dictate the start of the match, so Tsuji was very much in control, showcasing his very diverse ability, it was Uemura who came back. Everything. He is showing off what his style is. And similarly to Tsuji, very diverse. So he was doing arm drags, but also showing his speed and athleticism. I think compared to Tsuji, Uemura is very much more traditional Japanese style, but also the influences he's taken from his time in America. And you know what I love seeing on social media? That people who it's their first time watching New Japan or the first time in a long time, and they're like, who are these guys? I am a fan. They are my baby young lions who have now grown up. And you know what, shockingly in the end, Uemura got the pin. And I think it was needed because obviously Tsuji had the big showing in his first single match against Sanada. But Uemura has sort of been falling by the wayside, just doing tag matches and things like that. So this was needed. Now, while that was phenomenal, we had a tag match. So it was, there's a little bit of fluff there. That was Shota Umino teaming with Kaito Kiyomiya versus Evil and Ren Narita. So Narita got the win, just need to know. The highlight, can I just say, of the match was Shota Umino's entrance. The guy came out on a motorbike. That probably tells you the quality of the match. House of Torture interference, Evil being stupid. It was nice to see Kaito Kiyomiya. He bought Oiwa, but generally I don't think it was needed. It could have been done tomorrow. But it was a nice way to get everyone on the card. We then went back into the title matches. So the next one was Shingo Takagi versus Tama Tonga for the Never Openweight title. Now, a lot of people were a bit, not annoyed, but a bit skeptical because I think we've seen this before, and it was, again, the rematch after rematch that this card was full of. However, it completely, I always knew it was going to be great, but it put the haters to rest because it was 13-minute 46 of basically two of the most handsome, two of the most athletic, two of the most powerful men in New Japan beating the holy shit out of each other. Tama came out with this newfound, adrenaline and vigour, and for many, they've said this is probably one of his best single performances ever. Shingo, similarly, Shingo can never have a bad match. He has this passion for the Never division, and what I love is that whereas some people might have underestimated Tama, in the past he is known for his tag team wrestling, Shingo didn't do that, and if anything, brought out more from Tama. Now, I was shocked because I know if you watch my predictions, I had Shingo winning for the sake of for some sort of consistency with this belt. Tama got the win in the end. He won with the DSD. So, I'm going to say this, I've said it before, Tama needs to get rid of the gun stun. It is not effective. This DSD was. Now, what was even more surprising and slightly sad was that afterwards, Tama said it's his last month in New Japan. He'll be a free agent next month and that he is going to stay close to America. Now, before you come at me why are you not this upset? So Tama stated the reasons were due to his family and being away. Tama has kids, Tama has a family, and I've always thought, I couldn't believe how he balanced it. I think it was a few months ago, he welcomed his child in, and imagine having a new child and then having to jet off to Japan. I get it, and I wish Tama the best, and if this is his final singles reign and final title reign, I'm glad that he got it at the Tokyo Dome. Now the next match, before we start on the next match, so it was the IWGP tag titles. So most of you probably don't know this because this is a New Japan channel, but like most people, I started my love of wrestling through WWE, and my favourite wrestler, my first wrestling crush, was Dolph Ziggler. So you probably saw on social media at wrestling_chat when Dolph Ziggler saw Nick Nemeth and his brother came out before the tag match. I lost my shit because I literally posted 7 years ago. I had a photo set on my Instagram of I am the only girl trained for Dolph Ziggler, and he is there in my favourite company. I think I was still shook from that. And then you had that, and then you had the tag title match. So we had ELP and Hikaleo, so the strong champions, And remember to go on my channel and watch my interview with them, because I like to think that I helped them win. Probably not, but you know. Against the champions, so IWGP Tag Champions Bishamon, so Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto. As I mentioned in the preview, I knew this wasn't going to be as amazing as their World Tag League final, because remember, they were the stars. Here they're like in the middle of the card. But it was still an amazing match. Yoshihashi and Goto showing their veteran status. And as said in my interview, Hikuleo and ELP they were preparing, they were planning and doing things that they couldn't do in the past matches, and surprising Bishamon. So in particular, they won with Thunderstruck 91, and the lead up to that match was something that they could not execute in their tag final match. And what I love, and again in my interview Hikuleo said this, by teaming with ELP, he has become a much more well-rounded wrestler. He is not just the tall guy, he has this personality which he is allowed to shine, not just in his entrances, but when he's in the ring. And ELP is that perfect, like, ever since he debuted, like, even since he became a wrestler and I used to watch him on the independents, he is such a once-in-a-lifetime talent, combining amazing wrestling and the charisma. And I don't want to downgrade what Bishamon have done. So in the end, obviously, ELP and Hikuleo won. Bishamon have really kept the standards of this tag division so high for years, since we lost some of the big tag teams. And I mean, I kind of hope that this might be pushing the two of them as single stars now. But yeah, another really good match, and showcases, like, the tag division is safe. At one point, similar with the juniors, we were worried about the tag titles, but they are in safe hands. We then had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match. Now, there are some people hating, saying it wasn't one of the best between Despy and Hiromu. They have had some wars, but for me, it was just as good as you could expect. So Despy came out in red, white and black. Hiromu came out with his octopus things. And again, this was a wrestling clinic. These two know each other so well, and it just makes their matches more effective. You could see the passion in their eyes. For Hiromu, this was his chance to beat everyone that he faced at last year's Wrestle Kingdom, but also to beat Liger's, to continue his journey to beat Liger's reign. For Despy, he wanted to close out his chapter with Hiromu, to say, you know what, yes, Hiromu has the support of the fans, he's on this record-breaking reign, but I'm just as good. And it meant that while it wasn't as high risk and dangerous, there were so many parts that showcased the journey for the two wrestlers from when they were young lions. So I saw a video like a few days ago at their time in the dojo together with Evil, and they were training MVP with their dojo stuff, to now. And it meant that while a lot of people were upset when Despy actually beat Hiromu, I was over the moon. Like, in my predictions, I said Hiromu because I never thought that Despy would get the win. I mentioned this on a podcast with We Work Stiff, where there was like a really long preview with so many different creators, that while Hiromu says he wants to increase the prestige of the junior division, Despy has been doing it behind the scenes. So yeah, Despy deserves this reign. So like, yes, Desperado! And I've obviously rushed those matches. They were all phenomenal, bar that special tag match. But we now got to the top main three matches. So we started with the title, the new IWGP Global title. So Finlay versus Ospreay versus Moxley. This was an amazing match. So at the start, as expected, because Finlay is bastard and broke the belts, Moxley and Ospreay teamed together to beat the shit out of him. He went into a table, he was left on the floor, which allowed Ospreay and Moxley to do their thing in the ring. And I saw this on social media and I agree. And it makes me excited actually for Ospreay and AW. Moxley and Ospreay have this unreal chemistry in the ring. You have two men who I guess couldn't be more different with their styles. While both very unexpected and dynamic, you've got the sort of more roughness of Jon Moxley versus the finesse, the beauty of Ospreay, which I mean even like went onto his bloody Assassin's Creed themed entrance. It was, I'm not a fan of multi-man matches for heavyweight titles, especially like singles ones, but these three guys proved they can work. Finlay was healing it up, like getting the boos. Ospreay, despite it being, I guess, like one of his last matches in Japan, had the crowd's support, and so did Moxley. I remember at one point, because it was no DQ, so the War Dogs came out, so that is Gabe Kidd and Alex Coughlin. And basically, like, Moxley and Ospreay were like, I'm not dealing with this shit today. Got 2 tables out, and Ospreay, like, moonsaulted into them. There's a really funny picture of, like, Coughlin just in this table, and someone memed it, like, I am the table. It was funny. Now, unsurprisingly, but surprisingly, we all expected Finlay would win, but he actually pinned Will Ospreay. And what I loved, what I was expected, the goddamn heat that man got. Like, I knew him, I loved him as the creator of this C-Block Championship. But my God, like, if anyone doubted, like, Finlay's ability to be a heel, that reaction really cemented that, you know what, there is the potential for Finlay to be a top heel, to be the Bullet Club leader. We just need to see who David Finlay really is. And yeah, I was shocked though, because I didn't expect Ospreay to get the pin. I think most people assumed it would be Moxley because, like, I think out of everything he had the least to lose in terms of the New Japan vibes. But I also kind of like to think that this is Ospreay handing over his Gaikokujin hat to Finlay and sort of giving him the seal of approval, because once Ospreay goes, Finlay is going to be one of those guys that, while he's a heel, will still be expected to be one of the top Gaikokujins. We then had a possible match of the year candidate. So we had the Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Yes, that was me hesitating and not saying Daniel Bryan. Versus the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada. And they have had bouts in the past where Okada has broken his arm, broken his orbital bone. Luckily, as far as I know, no bones were broken here. This was a technical masterclass in wrestling. You have, again, 2 guys with very different styles. Bryan Danielson is known for his submission game, very much ground working and beautiful, similar to guys like Zack Sabre Jr. Okada is the powerhouse, the drama mama. If you're a K-pop fan, you might get that. The flamboyance, the strength, the power, the athleticism. And again, like Moxley and Ospreay, these 2 work together so well. And it had me at the edge of my seat because, like, it seemed like at first Danielson was basically trying to get revenge on Okada and wanted to break something of his. Luckily, that didn't happen. At one point, Bryan Danielson, I need to stop saying this. Even my mum was watching. He was choking out Okada and it looked like Okada was going to be out. And that Red Shoes would have to call the match. But in the end, we had the Rainmaker and Okada got the win. And at the end of the match, they both bowed to each other in a mutual show of respect. Now, of course, everyone is like, we want a rubber match. It's 1-1 now. We don't need it. You don't always need a rubber match. And yeah, it was going to be really hard to follow. And I know that a lot of you haters out there thought it should have been the main event and said, Naito and Sanada will never match up to this. My boys did it, okay? So, the main event was Naito versus Sanada. Everyone going into this, well, a lot of people were not feeling it. They didn't get the story. But really, I think to get why this match was so significant, you needed to go back all those years to the first tryouts where Sanada didn't make it and Naito did. If you go on the New Japan YouTube channel, there is an amazing video showcasing their history. This match, going into it, Naito was a favourite. It was like 95% of the cheers were for him and Sanada got 5. Although, goddammit, Sanada looked handsome in his red and silver gear. I'm just going to put it out there. Now, this match, it went 25 minutes. People were saying that Sanada has not brought anything out. He has been a quite, tranquilo champion. He's not changed his personality from when he was the Cold Skull. But we saw that spark, that fire that I always knew he had in this match. They were going full throttle. They were going outside, high risk, high speed. Sanada was trying to make a point by winning with the Muta Moonsault. He was trying to do his own new finisher. Similarly, Naito was also a fire in him. He was trying to hit Destinos. He actually hit Sanada's own move to try and counter it. And while I like the match itself was amazing technically, it was the storytelling within this. It was, you could see throughout the match as the cheers for Naito got louder, the fire coming out of Sanada as he realised, I'm the champion, but why am I not getting cheered? For Naito, it was the cockiness that came out of his eye, and he's like, I've said this, you're not an impactful champion, you don't have the charisma, these crowds are cheering for me. And what I quite like, so whereas I said, in the Tanahashi and Zack match, the ending felt flat. So at one point, Naito hit a Destino, and we all thought it was going to be the ending. But because it didn't hit very well and seemed slightly awkward, it wasn't the end, and it continued for, I guess, another 5-10 minutes. And that's what I mean. This match was perfectly balanced. And I know everyone loved the Danielson and Okada match, but personally, as a long-term Naito and Sanada fan and a Los Ingobernables de Japón fan, this was my match of the night because it combined everything I loved with two of my favourite wrestlers. And in the end, I mean, my heart was ready to jump out of my chest because either of them couldn't win. Naito hit his Destino to get the win. And I tell you, even before the ending, I have never heard a crowd so loud. I even joked that the response Naito got was in K-pop terms, what the reaction BTS would get. They were on their feet, they were chanting, they were cheering. Just because they knew they'd get the chance for this LIJ roll call. Now, of course, where there is joy, there is always someone to ruin that. And as Naito got the mic, fucking Evil and Dick Togo came out and started beating him up, saying, you don't deserve the roll call, you didn't want the belt anyway. And obviously, we expect faction mates to come out, but it's Los Ingobernables de Japón. We haven't seen Bushi or Titan. The other three lost their match. So we were like, oh god, no, Naito is not getting his moment. But hold up. My boy Sanada dug up from after a grueling match and beat that shit out of Evil. And what I like is that story here, that unlike other factions or when people leave, when Sanada left LIJ, there was no bad blood. He said it wasn't for any particular reason except the fact he wasn't growing. And that there is still a mutual respect between Sanada and Naito. So obviously Naito thanked him, and as Sanada went out the ring, it was an emotional time because as he walked out, he broke into tears. Not huge, but for someone like Sanada who has been known for his calm and almost emotionless demeanour, it was actually quite heartbreaking to see. And I mean, there'll be pictures on the New Japan website and stuff, but if you really want something, so if you follow at WeWorkStiff, so that is Josh, again, I told you I did the podcast with him earlier, he was actually there in person. He shared the most beautifully heartbreaking picture of Sanada. And I want to say, people have hated on Sanada for his reign, said it's not been impactful enough. But for me, Sanada has been the epitome of what a champion is. He was selfless. He was not only using the title to raise the prestige of just 5 guys, but all of his opponents, whether it was Hiromu, Jungle Boy, the Yota Tsuji. And I just want to say, Sanada has been a phenomenal champ, and I hope he gets that chance in the end. Now, obviously, Naito did his roll call, oddly enough. I don't think I've seen a huge LIJ roll call without the other members of LIJ, but it's Naito, and it was the perfect ending to a really good show. I'm never one to judge or compare Wrestle Kingdoms. I just take each show as it is, and this show for me was phenomenal. There was a lot of title changes, and I guess it might not be everyone's cup of tea or the matches, but for me, the matches that mattered, so obviously we're not counting Evil and Narita versus Shota and Kiyomiya, they all had something special, and I'm really excited to watch New Year's Dash tomorrow and see what the next few months of New Japan will bring. I could have gone on this for a few hours, this review, but if you want to see my full thoughts, tomorrow, hopefully, I will be on True Heel Heat with J News and SP3 with a very long live rundown, so make sure to watch that. But let me know your thoughts. So you can do that at social media at wrestling_chat or in the comments. What did you think of the show? What were your standouts? Who stood out the most? And what do you expect from the future of New Japan? I think we are in that transitional period where we are seeing the more veteran talent wind down and the emergence of new guys, but also with keeping our love and our sort of hopes with the guys like Naito. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, because I love doing these reviews straight after the show because you literally got me running on adrenaline. So yeah, if you liked this video, make sure to hit like and share and hit subscribe. So I might be back with a New Year's Dash video tomorrow, depending what happens. But I am your source for New Japan. Like people have said on the internet, I'm one of the only YouTube channels that solely focus on New Japan. I am always here for reviews, previews, lists. I'm hoping to do more interviews like the one I did with ELP and Hikaleo. So yeah, make sure to hit subscribe. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed Wrestle Kingdom as much as I did. And I will speak to you guys soon. Bye!